right, guys, here we're going to talk about the movie Home Alone. 1990s Home Alone. You've fucking seen this before.
Everyone has seen this movie.
I know, right?
There's no shot you haven't seen Home Alone.
I couldn't imagine it.
Yeah.
Even if you were born like yesterday,
You've seen it.
I'm pretty sure it was playing.
They show it in the hospital.
Yeah.
In the ICU for babies.
It's all you love and know. It's Cannibal Video.
Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern, obviously Macaulay Culkin. This is a pretty great Christmas movie.
Several other people. I hate this movie.
Do you really?
Don't watch it again. It's not as good as you remember. In my humble opinion,
I don't know.
I was very disappointed, and I shouldn't have, you made me, but I shouldn't have rewatched this movie. Because it's much better in my memory than it is in real life in ways that I will get into in spoilers. But I was very disappointed. Do you feel like it's good?
I think the slapstick nature of this film, the facial reactions of injuries, and just in general, are two bungling burglars with this charming young child as like a vigilante of justice here.
Oh, he's a force for good in the world, obviously, definitely.
Yeah, we'll debate that in the spoilers. But I think that they really came together here and they made something magical, which went on to make many sequels, some good, some brutally horrible. But no, this is thumbs up for me.
I'm gonna say no. I'm not.
Wow.
I'm not angry at it, but I was just like, I'm very bored. This is not what I remember.
Oh my.
So
okay.
there we go. Hot take of the day.
All right, guys. So if you've seen it or don't care, follow spoilers, and if not, pull out now.
If you need a place to rent content, you better listen. We're Cannibal Video and we eat the competition.
All right, so here we are for the spoilers of Home Alone.
I'm gonna say something very cliche potentially, or that you will attack or something like that. And I'm gonna hold my phone. It's not open or on. I'm just gonna hold it to give myself oh, he's reading this. He wrote this down. But I remember all of it. At around an hour and 15 minutes into this movie, Kevin McAllister is rushing home. I have to defend my house and my family. At an hour and 30 minutes, the cops are escorting the wet bandits out.
Remember, we're the wet bandits. Wet bandits. And
Shut up!
Of his house.
Not his house, the neighbor's house, but yes.
The actual good part about the movie, the whole part that everyone remembers and thinks is so cool, is this tiny little fucking section that you have to wait through an entire hour of fucking boring movie to get to. It was such torture.
Herb,
yeah?
I got a question here about a toothbrush.
And in my head, I thought it was 20, 30, 40, whatever minutes with stuff cut in between it of the family trying to get home and the mom and the shoveler and all this other stuff, right? But no, it's all concentrated in this one area, which as an adult, I kind of tune out. There are some highlights where I'm like, wow, but as a kid, that part felt hours long to me.
Yeah, he's a kid. Kids are stupid.
It had so much nuance and depth and interesting stuff, and now I'm just like, this is so lame. I hate this.
I think it was almost exactly as I remember it. I knew how long that scene part was going to be. I think a lot of that, what was cool about it for me as a kid was like, oh, this kid got this bit of freedom and he's doing these things alone. Like, oh, look what he's doing. Oh, he's running from the cop.
Hey, kid!
Oh, he's doing this shit. He defends his house. And just how clever he is in his way of doing it. Like this impossible feat that he, making that fake party and these booby traps and the genius of think about that Machiavellian tactician who's he's like, okay, he'll go through this way first and then he'll see the open window. So when he loses his shoes, he'll then step on the idea that any of that worked,
yeah, something that
impossible.
In a movie you didn't like, you would say, that's so dumb. Why, how does he know which way he's gonna walk now?
I already explained it. He's a genius.
You like the movie, I know. But yes, I love gadgets and Rube Goldberg machines and all this cool stuff. So those are the cool parts of the movie, and they are in there still. I'm not saying the whole thing is garbage, but yes, I was very disappointed or underwhelmed. In my memory, this is a legend and this is the greatest thing ever. And I was like, it's fine. It's okay. I think for its time, they had to do a whole bunch of work to convince the audience how it's possible to have left your fucking kid home alone.
Did we miss the flight? No, you just made it. Yeah! Single seats only, coach, take whatever's free.
There's all this convoluted shit that has to go into it.
Yeah, the neighbor.
Yeah, whereas I feel now they would have just been they left him or something. This was so groundbreaking for this concept. And I feel people still said, that's impossible. How could you leave your kid or whatever? But they go to such lengths to the head count part. I think you're talking about the
8,
9, 10, 11. Okay, half in this van, half in this van. Let's go.
Have a good trip. Bring me back something French.
Neighbor were like, there's some other kid there for that. They send him to the attic somehow. Like.
Now get upstairs.
I am upstairs, dummy. 3rd floor.
Go.
Everything plays in,
and they're already
the
in a
power
rush.
goes out. Yeah, because they're the power goes out, so they're in this crazy rush. Where it might be realistic that you could forget your child and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole
I feel like
thing.
they could have added one extra layer, so like the milk spills on the tickets and they get thrown in the garbage, but he does find them and pull them out. I think you could have had a thing where like, where are the tickets? I don't know. We gotta run. They have to put us new tickets out. Something like that could have happened. But it all worked out. I think that the things that as a kid stuck out for me were like, wow, like this family's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Like they're really shitty to him.
Did anyone order me plain cheese?
Well, yeah, we did. But if you want any, somebody's gonna have to barf it all up, because it's gone.
But then, like, as an adult, I'm like, well, he's kind of an asshole. Like,
well,
you can kind of see it from both directions.
I write that off like it's supposed to be Kevin's perspective or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's even true, but like just his like uncle or whatever that
is the worst.
He's like, you little piece of shit. It's like,
look what you did, you little jerk.
Yeah, it's like filmed in this weird close up where it's like, this like scary adult and stuff. Yeah.
And olives and
Look what
onions
you did, you little jerk.
Best is the other one, the other Culkin Fuller plays, when he like pulls the chair out and like crushes him against the wall.
Watch it!
and someone has to swoop in like, are you okay, honey? He's like, oh, my
Go
face.
easy on the Pepsi, Fuller.
Fuller, go easy on the Pepsi.
They set that up like, he pees the bed.
Yeah, the beginning was torture. All this like family nonsense or whatever.
But family nonsense
It felt
is
like-
torture, Lee, so it all
See?
makes sense.
It made you feel the way it really feels.
Yeah, that's
why
conveying an
when
emotion.
you watch a torture movie, you're supposed to feel tortured by it. Yeah, it's
proper.
No, like I was okay with that. I thought like maybe it takes a while to get going. It's all cool and all that stuff. Other points of disappointment were I thought because like he has to get money, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna climb these shelves to get some money, and they've already set up the tarantula, and I remember the tarantula coming into play later. And then the whole shelf collapses, and they show the tarantula, whoop, he got out. And I'm like, that's brilliant. They set that up. As a kid, I wasn't even like thinking about setups and payoffs.
Like you thought that was just a spider in the house?
No. I mean, like, I don't remember the spider, them explicitly showing it getting out or whatever. My point is, it's disappointing because there's 2 or 3 other times where they have to fucking show the spider. They keep showing the spider. Hey kids, don't forget about the spider. And like, just that one in the beginning would have been so brilliant.
Well, they
to
do
then have
that
it come back
with the micro
Yeah.
machines. He's like, Kevin, could you clean the goddamn micro machines? Grandma almost broke her leg, or whatever the fuck he says.
Pick up those micro machines that are all over in there. Aunt Leslie stepped on one and almost broke her neck.
They're gonna slip on these.
And later on, he's like, he takes out 2 dudes.
You will slip on these.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. No, that's what I mean. There's a lot of setups and payoffs and stuff, and I thought that like this was a brilliant little thing that you could like remember from an hour earlier, but they keep showing you the fucking spider over.
I think
and
for
over,
a child
which
though,
disappointed
who has
me.
no attention span or memory or ability to link things, that was a beautiful like,
yeah. No, totally. It was just something that I forgot, and I'm insulted by because it was so
Well, you
overt or whatever.
gotta take yours.
Absolutely.
The movie though has like a lot of interesting things. Like I love how he has the ability to call the police the whole time. In fact, he does call the police.
911 emergency.
Oh, my house is being robbed.
He in fact calls them and has set up this like string maneuver where I will trap them into the place I'm eventually going to take them, and the police will come get them. But like he could have just called them immediately. People are trying to break into my house and got it. But no, his goal was to inflict the maximum amount of damage and punishment on these people.
You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Because how dare they try to get into the McAllister house? Because obviously, as others have posited, his dad is the head of a mob, and like you don't fuck with the McAllisters.
Bunch of memes about the McAllisters, the McAllister
like,
family.
how does his dad have this house? How does he have the ability to fly like 15 people to fucking Paris for a week for a Christmas gift thing?
Don't you feel like a heel flying first class with all the kids back in coach?
No, the kids are fine.
He's loaded. Either he's a hedge fund manager or he's the head of the mob.
10 years ago, he was diagnosed with cancer, and he said, I need to make meth, though, to fix this problem. Only things didn't go the way the mainstream media would have had you have believed. And now he's the head of an empire.
Hey, it happens.
At least once.
You're goddamn right.
Another interesting thing for me was like, so as you mentioned, he gets like the money from Buzz's room. He knocks over a tarantula.
Yeah.
He like destroys that room.
It's great.
But he destroys most of the house throughout his escapades, or at least like has things that are amiss or awry from what he does. But when the parents get home, when they all get home, the mom gets home first. The house is pristine. He cleaned everything in the house except for Buzz's room.
I thought they just came in.
Who's they?
The parents.
Well, the mom comes in first, and the rest of the family comes behind.
Aren't the cops already there?
They never go to his house.
Oh,
the cops have no idea that even happened.
Oh, I have no idea.
He had them knocked out at the neighbor's house.
There he is!
Hey, I'm calling the cops.
And they never even knew to go to the McAllister's house.
That's very confusing.
His whole plan was to murder them and like leave them in that house and have no strings lead back to his house.
That's very confusing.
It's not actually set up that way.
Because I don't know why his parents come into the other house then. I guess because the cops
No, they
know.
don't. They come to his house.
Oh, I thought it's all happening so quick together at the end, where like the cops come in and then
No, the cop.
they come in
at
next
night.
to the
The
cops.
cops
or
come in. They
Yeah.
they arrest them. The wet bandits. They take them.
Yeah. Oh, it's the next morning.
It's the next morning. He slept at his house.
Gotcha.
I
Gotcha.
It's Christmas. He thinks his wish will come true.
Instead of presents this year, I just want my family back. No toys, nothing but Peter, Kate, Buzz, Megan, Linny, and Jeff. And my aunt and my cousins.
I forgot it was the next morning because it makes no sense that the cops would be like, "Run along, little boy."
They never saw him. Is the point?
He's not
He
there
called the
anymore.
police to the neighbor's house.
He's not
and
there
yeah,
anymore?
he left it with the shovel man.
Come on. Let's get you home.
It's very confusing. Thank you for elucidating that. What are you saying?
Well, what I'm saying is it's interesting that he cleaned everything except for his brother's room. So like that,
Yeah,
that's a
he
fun little
intentionally
tidbit.
did
Like
that?
he had to have, because he has genie magical powers to both prevent damage to his house, himself, and his property. But he can clean this house like a miracle whip. But he chose not to clean Buzz's room.
Kevin! What did you do to my room?
Interesting. I read it like they're just so happy to see him that they're not angry about the house, but the Buzz hates that his room is messed up or whatever.
No, if you look at like they show multiple. No, they don't show him cleaning.
Okay.
They show multiple rooms and they are pristine. There's no problems there.
Big plot hole there. Big problem.
I like to think that it's
With the movie.
He has turned a leaf. He is now a better member of the family. He shows that by I shopped. I got milk and detergent.
You shopping? I got the milk, eggs, and fabric softener.
And people are happy. He smiled. He forgives his mother for leaving him there. They're all happy again. And the family's going to give him a little bit more credit than they used to go. Because it's like, oh, he can't tie his shoes, but he can go shopping? This kid's a miracle.
Yeah.
Look at it. He scrubbed the floors. And like they believe that nothing bad happened because if you look at the house, nothing bad happened.
Yeah.
There's no record of any breaking and entering.
So why would the Cat in the Hat not clean up Buzz's room is what you're trying to ask
Pretty
me
much.
here. Yeah, big major issue with the movie.
Well, because Buzz isn't worth it.
Yeah. But that blows the whole plan. They're going to be like, oh, Kevin, we thought you were so cool. Turns out you're a bastard. You trashed Buzz's room.
Well, no, his plausible deniability there is like, well, I needed money to buy groceries. I didn't know how long the family was going to leave me here alone as a small child, and I knew that Buzz had money, and I accidentally, so sorry, knocked over these shelving units.
We can imagine all we want, but
That's how I imagine
the movie chooses not to close this gaping hole in its plot or whatever.
You're not at all worried about Kevin.
Why should I be? No, he's acted like a jerk once too many times, and this time he caught it in the butt.
The shoveler is an interesting side plot. I forgot this. This is boring as shit. I hated everything about this.
My point is, you should call your son.
What if he won't talk to me?
At least you'll know.
Oh, he's scary, then he's not scary, and then it's like, you should talk to your kid, or whatever he says.
Well, that's the touching moral Christmas part of this whole movie.
Yeah, garbage, horrible, waste of my time.
It was made for children.
I know,
need
it's
those
bad
things.
though, is what I'm saying.
I don't think it is bad. I think that original bit as a child creeped me out. When
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
the shoveler. Oh, he puts him in acid, or whatever the fuck his story is. And you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah,
and then,
when they're like looking out the window and they're all like, oh, these victims.
It's
and
really
stuff.
well done.
Yeah, it's great.
They never found the bodies. But everyone around here knows he did it. Now, it'll just be a matter of time before he does it again.
And then, like, when it's like, oh, you're my neighbor, right? Oh, that's my granddaughter. Like, you're like, oh, okay. Everyone's not, like, looks are not everything. Like, first impressions, don't believe everything you hear. And, like, that's the little morally bit. And there's a nice little wraparound at the end when you're like, oh, he did, get it, like, through his family, through his therapist child at church. He learned that, like, and the only thing they didn't really say, which I think could have been important, was like, well, you don't want to call him because you're afraid he won't say yes and you'll never see him again. It's like, but if you don't call him, you're never going to see him again anyway. So what are you really risking here?
He said something similar to that, right? Where he goes, at least you'll know.
Didn't attack it enough.
I had the same like hanging thing of like you didn't quite close that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was like too much though, because it should be a joke that he's his child therapist, but it plays so flat and it seems to inspire him to run home and like defend his house or something.
You better run along home where you belong. You think about what I said, all right?
Okay.
Where I'm like, what are you doing? You're safe. Just call the cops from the
There's
church.
a banger playing though when he's running home from the church. It's like a remix of some Christmas song.
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna fuck your shit up.
It's Christmas. I'm gonna fuck some dudes up. Yeah. No,
I thought the only thing that was bad, like not necessarily a plot hole, but I thought like a little, he's so good at planning and setting up traps and all that, and he knows they're coming at 9 o'clock. Yet he doesn't pull his meal out of the microwave until like 8:57. And I'm like, you don't want to be, a little full stomached when you're going through this battle.
Like the movie and the plot and everything, and him rushing home and the stuff. Because like the church bells are ringing, I think too, and I was trying to count them. Like, is it 9 o'clock now? Like, what time is it now? Like, it wasn't established well enough for me. Like times.
Yeah, I
and
don't know when
locations
church bells
and
ring.
It's a whole. I'm like, like that's what I interpret. Like, oh, it's for kids to me. It's like I shouldn't take any of this seriously at all. So then when I try to take something seriously, another thing, disappointment files, Angels with Filthy Souls.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Again, I thought this was a brilliant thing where you see it like once in the beginning and then he uses it on them later. But they do it 4 times. He keeps using the same fucking scene from the same fucking movie, against the pizza delivery guy, and then he uses it against them accidentally, or he's not sure it's them. He just people or whatever. There's a foot, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm gonna use it now.
I think he just puts it on to make them know that someone's home.
Johnny, I'm sorry. I'm going. 1, 2, 10.
And then it like happens, it keeps happening. I'm like, utterly destroyed my heart.
I would imagine a lot of that is budgetarily, because like that's a movie they made, right? That's not a real film.
I don't know what that is.
I'm pretty sure that was shot for this, and it's just like, well, how many things are gonna shoot?
There's like a legend of the Angels with Filthy Souls. Angels? I think it is. Yes.
Angels?
It's like a legendary, like, it's a meme of the thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But again, like in my mind, it was this great thing where it's like he accidentally discovers the power of using the movie to like do one thing, and then later it's like, haha. But that was repeated so many times.
For me, I didn't have any problem with like when it was used or necessarily how. It's the idea that it actually works in a lot of these scenarios. Like the pizza guy is like fully around the corner running, and he's still reacting to these like obvious TV show things. And I'm like, how loud is your system?
Like he doesn't know that there's TV shows or something. Yeah, but like that's the cool setup where because you show Kevin like pausing and like playing back the same. It's like turn around, take off your clothes. It's like that scene, but it's like playing with the thing, and I'm like, oh, cool. But then it kept happening, and I'm like, this sucks.
I would have liked another round. Like there's an ongoing joke of them hitting the little lawn jockey thing. I would have liked that to have like fallen on Marv or something, like and like it's choking him or something.
That's another good example of where it's like not fully paid off. It's just like we have a running gag here, and then it's like what? Yeah, exactly.
And that thing, like a solid bronze statue, like holy shit.
Oh, like that's iconic. When I saw bonk, and then people have to run and like put it up the whole time. I'm like, I remember this. That's great. But there was no like I like expected it there to be like to come into play. The lawn jockey kills one of them.
Yeah, I love the slapstick of this. Like, and I mentioned that earlier. Like some of that, their faces. These are 2 actors that are particularly adept at making faces of I'm hurt or conveying frustration.
Yeah. Be a good little fella now and open the door.
What? And I think that they're perfectly cast. And so I like these 2 dudes. I love like he gets hit in the face with like with like a bullet between his eyes or an iron or
right no yes a bullet.
Yeah, he goes through the doggy door and.
Hello.
He shoots him right in the face.
The pellet or whatever.
Yes, it's a bullet for a pellet gun.
I thought you were joking about he literally gets canoed, he gets domed, in the head or whatever.
Many times he would be dead from a lot of these impacts.
I really like how like the shape of the iron stays on his head and stuff, and it keeps going. The biggest thing that stood out for me that I still remembered and still had a reaction to was when he was going up the stairs and like losing a shoe, losing a sock, and then finally. But I should
The
say,
I'm being burned scream, also great.
I've seen that in a lot of GIFs now.
The scream, and even the mom's
holiday
Kevin
ULI.
scream. These are iconic screams that, like, I could just hear them and I would know what I'm listening to. I'm like, oh yeah, that's from this.
Kevin!
Yeah, I will say, like, as an adult though, I tune out a lot of the slapstick. It was those few moments that like caught me, but it's like he's falling again. There's ice. I'm like, oh my god, I hate this so much.
But some of those, like, I'm like, how? Like, there's one where he goes up the stairs. He's like, whoof, and like the way he falls, he like lands on his like neck, shoulder, and falls.
Like the stuntman, I guess, lands on like this part of the neck and back. Or I'm like, you're dead.
It's so well executed, but that man may have been executed.
Literally well executed maneuvers, yes. It's not like my thing though. So like I like the elaborateness of the traps or like the interactions and stuff. Just watching a man fall down, I'm like, what am I doing?
Mostly it's the like how ragdolled some of these falls are. Like, they really committed and sold to these, but it's the scream. Even like Kevin's minor injuries or falls, he was like you're like. Okay, kid can't get hurt. He's like a cartoon. We're
He's
good.
a magic man.
Yeah.
Unless he goes like, ah, does that.
But that's not
the
even
iconic thing.
That's so funny to me because as a kid you don't even know like what is that? It's like, oh, he's imitating his dad, putting on it. Like that's funny. Like, oh, this.
I also thought
child.
like I know it, like, you know, the timeline does not add up, but I was like, oh, this is American Psycho when he's there.
I always use an aftershave lotion with little or no alcohol.
It's like, I do this and that, and I'm doing, you know, I can do over 1,000. Ah! Like he's doing his whole, like, it's a nice little reference mashup for me now. But no, I hated that because, again, like you're saying, like a lot of stuff as a kid, I remembered it one way. And then now I'm like, well, going back, there must have been this like stuff around it. And like you're saying, no, it's just like you have to understand that it would burn his little face, I guess. And that's hilarious.
I think it's that it burns his dad's face. He sees his dad do this every day in routine and thinks that's what you do. You put it on your face and you scream. Yeah.
I can't seem to find my toothbrush, so I'll pick one up when I go out today. Other than that, I'm in good shape.
At least that's how I've always assumed it.
You think his dad is screaming every time?
Yeah. I picture every morning his dad shaving too close, slapping that stuff on, it stings and he screams, and Kevin sees this and is copying what he sees.
That is the most insane thing you've ever said.
Because why would it, there's no open pores on his face, it wouldn't burn at all.
No. I understand that you've tried to make it make some sort of sense, but his adult father is not blood-curdlingly screaming every morning.
Let me know in the comments below what you believe here. I want a poll. I believe that, and I don't think his dad is literally going, ah, I think it's like, ah, like something like that.
Well, so that's different. You've changed your thing now to something that's more plausible.
No, I think it's the kid imitating, and as a kid does, like they do it differently. Like if you stub your tongue, the kid goes, ah, like.
I understand the concept. You didn't say that. You said his father screams.
He does every day.
His father may go or something, which is not his scream. Okay.
Did you look at his dad? He seems like kind of a bitch.
He seems like a bitch.
I bet it's louder than
soy boy cuck.
Yeah.
Est-ce qu'il y a un personne qui parle anglais là?
What's this, honey?
No, he's definitely imitating to do that, but I'm assuming that this is what I'm talking about. This movie is bad. It, like it's not as clear or as good, and it's like a real movie. There's so much fucking movie there, and like the good part is this tiny little part at the end, which isn't even that good. There's like multiple movies, and they all became one in my head. So there were gags that I was waiting for that didn't happen, or I'm like, that's in two.
Movie 2's ones, yeah.
Yeah, because it just became one big cartoon jumble of death in my brain over that decade as they released, and similar movies. Right, other people getting their ass beat by a child, because this sparks a genre in effect of this being like the thing that people do, to greater or lesser effect.
Yeah, this is one of the most successful ones.
You might dye someone a color or something like that.
Rotten kids.
But or literally murder them, depending on the exact movie.
Sure.
What kind of mother am I?
If it makes you feel any better, I forgot my reading classes.
So So let's talk about John Candy for a moment here.
Okay.
John Candy, a mainstay, a classic of my childhood.
Forgot he was in the movie. There's a lot of people who are comedians peppered throughout the family and different parts of the movie, obviously. I was so happy to see John Candy. I was like, wow, a bonus, a whole movie within the movie.
Gus Polinski. How are you? Polka King of the Midwest.
John Candy, a polka-playing man.
Yeah.
Now, I love his thing when he introduces himself, and he's saying how he's this polka-playing man.
You know, ever heard of this one? Ever heard of that one? And he wants to fuck Kevin's mom.
Well, then he's like, we're kind of big. We sold 600 CDs.
Some fairly big hits for us, in the early 70s, Yeah, we sold about 623 copies of that.
In Chicago?
No, Sheboygan. Very big in Sheboygan.
You're like, wait a minute, 600 CDs? You're not big at all. And then later goes on saying, well, we've been touring 48 weeks a year. I'm like, what the fuck? Are you the worst touring band ever?
That's the hard life of like a polka man, yo.
I guess.
They're oomping all over the world.
Polka, polka, polka.
Yeah, it's that read to me again, because I'm an old man, where I'm like, oh, comedians, and they were just like, okay, John, you're a polka guy, go. And he was just did his thing and kept going, and she's trying not to laugh. She's really funny too. I forget her name, but she was on a bunch of with Eugene Levy and different movies and stuff. She's been everywhere. So them two in the van, they just keep that's what I thought happened. There was 40 minutes of the movie where Kevin's murdering these two men and keeps cutting back to oh, my kid, oh yeah, and we left him here or did this and then
at
blah,
a funeral
blah, blah.
home.
Yeah.
That I was screaming, this is not scripted.
There he was. Apparently he was there alone all day with a corpse. Now, he was okay, after 6-7 weeks. And I came around, started talking again.
No, exactly, but she's trying not to laugh and I am laughing. It was a great
when he says, well, you brought it up, I was like, okay, you're pretty fucking funny.
But he's okay. They get over it. Kids are resilient like that.
Maybe we shouldn't talk about this.
Well, you brought it up. I was just, trying to cheer you up.
Sorry, I didn't.
He's just a funny guy being funny, and that entire story of he was fine. Kids are resilient. Once he started talking again, everything was just uphill from there. I'm like, oh, and she's just like, oh, like my son, I've destroyed his life. It's this great whole thing, and like you said, when he goes around, he's like, oh, he doesn't even, like he forgets his kids' names. He doesn't even know his kids. We tour 49 weeks out of the year.
We're on the road 48, 49 weeks out of the year. We hardly see our families. Joe over there, gosh, he forgets his kids' names half the time.
Yeah, no, it's
that was
ludicrous,
a whole
especially when he's, and that's what made me think it was unscripted, because the little lines of we've sold 600 of those.
Yeah, he's just going crazy.
This is crazy talk.
Exactly.
How could you be the polka king of the East if you've never sold a CD?
Well, the joke being that polka is so unpopular that 600 is huge in the polka world. And he's
guess.
so delusional because he lives in the polka bubble.
Well, I feel like the original joke, or they're filmed on different days, obviously.
Exactly, whatever.
That it wasn't even strong. He probably threw out 100 jokes, not realizing which ones would get linked together, and those two don't necessarily jive.
It all, is very loose there and all that stuff. Yes, but again, because I forgot it was there, I was all like, wow, it's there. It's in the movie.
Sure, it's Christmas time.
So we mentioned, our wet bandits here are the two bad guys. They are called the wet bandits because they leave the sink running in everything they do. And I do love their interaction between each other. He's like, what are you laughing about? Did you do that fucking thing again? That's a sick thing to do. And it is a sick thing to do. It is sick.
Yeah, it is.
It's so ridiculous.
All the great ones leave their mark. We're the wet bandits.
You're sick. You know that? You're really sick.
I'm not sick.
Yes, you are.
That's sick.
That's a sick thing to do.
And when they go into that house where they ultimately do get arrested, the sink is not on, but the basement is flooded. So you're like, did Kevin go in here for checking to see how things would be? You
noticed all these things, and I'm like, oh,
well, because he had to have had a plan. He called in that address specifically. He ran specifically to that address. The basement door was unlocked. Or did he do that? I want to know what his plan was, and I'm picturing electrocution. I'm picturing his plan was once they followed him there, he'd be like, oh no! And he throws an open wire in there.
Says, you've been sentenced to death.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was two houses. I didn't, so I don't even know what the fuck you want me to tell you about that.
I love that you didn't notice there was two different houses. You thought he flooded his own basement?
There's I didn't know there was a flooded basement. I was tuned out. This movie bothered me so much. But I knew about the rope and all that stuff, but I wasn't sure if he was going back to his house or if his house was so big and shitty that he was going from some other thing to his. I didn't know what the fuck was happening.
The rope thing bothered me for a minute because every movie that has anything to do with rope, they never get tension properly.
Hey guys.
Yeah. And that drives me nuts.
Well, they're just standing on a box, so they can't.
Oh yeah. Because they did have some dip, and when he jumps out, it does drop, and when like Daniel Stern, especially a heavy man, it does sink a bit. But then when Kevin goes to cut the rope, he like lifts it up with his hand, and like it's saggy, and he cuts it. And I'm like, come on, man, have a teamster pulling it or something.
Took you out of the movie there. With the,
it did. It took me out of them, even as a child.
Sick man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's. The way that I interpret scenes like that is like, oh, he's cutting the rope, and it doesn't matter the exact logistics of like
poor bastard,
ropiness. Yeah, I can just get through something and not whatever. I like their dynamic though, like you were saying too. The whole thing when he has one line where I'm gonna get the names mixed up, but he's like, you know what, Marv, you're one of the world's greatest cat burglars or whatever, because he's just smashing and breaking and dropping things.
You know, you're one of the great cat burglars of the world, Marv. You think you could keep it down a little in there, huh?
And I would think of that for years of my life when someone was being like a klutz or fucking up or something like that as one of my many lines that no one would ever understand that I might say, and then later think when I realized you need to stop saying this line. This joke doesn't work. But it would occur to me in my head. It was one of those things.
No, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, there you go.
When Daniel Stern,
where were you when I was 4 years old or whatever?
Daniel Stern is at the bottom of the basement there, and like he's slipping on ice, and Kevin did a fabulous job, like icing everything
in multiple locations, which I had forgotten. Is he literally was doing it like at all the things? But,
so like he is falling, and like he uses his crowbar to try to like pull himself up, and he slips, and the crowbar catches just long enough on there as he falls to then fall on him. And I always thought that was really funny, and this time watching it, and I didn't rewind to like really check it, but like this is the oldest I've ever been watching it, so like I feel like I can notice things a little bit more.
It's the oldest you've ever been, yes.
I think it was.
You're the wisest you've ever been.
I think it was planned to do that way. So I always thought it was like this funny incidental thing that happened, but I think it was on a string and they dropped it on him.
Oh, yeah.
Which takes me out of it a little bit, because I like the idea that crowbar actually hit him.
Oh, so for you to enjoy it, you needed to be like a mistake on set that fell on him?
It looked,
yes,
for all my previous watches,
unintentional?
That it was just like he was doing it and like maybe he was told to fall, but the crowbar did not fall with him. It stayed hooked on the ledge for a second,
like an extra,
and then drops.
Right.
And now I think that was scripted.
I'm trying to analyze in your head more. Is like you get more of like a perverse thrill out of it if it was not intentional, and now that it's intentional.
No, I think it's more that I go like, oh man, they caught this magic. Like that's a great shot.
I got you.
But I think now, which would make it, I guess, greater, that it was intentional and not just this like the luck of the draw. You happen to get this
greater on behalf of the makers or whatever.
Because there's a lot of shots there that they put a lot of work to. Like him going down the stairs on the sled.
Yeah.
I'm sure that took some ridiculous concoction, because you can't just send a small child down a fucking flight of stairs on a sled.
This is 1990, my friend.
I still don't think you could do that.
They'd kick you.
I picture that as like some sort of a rig that is taking him all the way down.
Oh, I think I've seen it behind the scenes of that, actually.
Have you?
Where it is like a thing. I don't know.
But yeah, that scene, like watching that, I'm like, how would they have filmed this? Like, I know I would just send an idiot down there and green screen him, but I'm like, I don't think they did that.
No, it wasn't that.
Yeah.
Same way of technology or whatever.
No.
Larry, can you pick up? There's some lady on hold. Sounds kind of hyper.
What line, Rose?
2.
Family Crisis Intervention, Sergeant Balzac.
When Kevin's mom is in the airport and she realizes she has to get back to her son, who she has left, and very rightfully so, is in a sense of urgency. I've got to get back quickly.
Yeah.
I love that she just steals this fucking phone from some lady.
I'm sorry, it's an emergency. We really have to make a call.
Please, our brother's home alone.
Excuse me, just give us the phone.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, but thank you.
Oh yeah,
like
French.
Get out! So sorry, you French whore.
Shut up, French. Yeah, shut up, French idiot. Give me the phone. Yes, that was one of the most charming aspects of the film. Two sides of the coin. So let me carve that out and fill it in. You have the family being like so fucking American and so fucking like they're from Chicago, I think, right? But they're just like talking shit about every other place on earth. I was in fucking Dallas. Now I'm here. Fuck you. Get out of my way. I'm the man. Like she's like, I need my son. You know, she's like hanging up the phone for the person. She's like so forceful or whatever. Yeah. And then on the other end, the whole time, Kevin is like, I made my family disappear.
I made my family disappear.
It has this weird childlike magic thing or something like that.
Yeah.
That felt really like of its time, and like you know, I'm like nostalgic for both of those vibes. So like as a film, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is a cool like you know, motif to go back to.
There's a reason this is a holiday classic. It's something that's on every channel, like all holidays, on December 1st through like the 25th. It just plays in constant rotation. And as a kid, I would watch it a lot because like you'd catch it here and there and get the good parts and the people following and this and that, along with the sequels. Only the second one being an actual sequel that's good. The rest of them being hot garbage.
Yeah.
Where do you live? I can't tell you that. Why not? Because you're a stranger.
That checkout thing, that lady is very inquisitive, and it's kind of funny, and then he just fucking shoots it down with, because you're a stranger.
No, listen, that's even more of that, because like, it's hard to put my finger on, and I hadn't thought about how to articulate it, but there's a nostalgia for this time period.
Yeah.
Because there's no cell phones, there's no like whatever, and he's just like, he's just like trying to like figure stuff out literally on his own in a way that you can't even do today.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the checkout chick is like, where's your mommy? Like, what's going on? And he's like, I have a coupon. He's like pretending to be an adult.
Are you here all by yourself?
Ma'am, I'm 8 years old. You think I'd be here alone? I don't think so.
This weird
For
way.
the kids.
Yeah. It's this strange thing where it's like, because like now, I know he's super young, but I feel like the checkout lady doesn't give a fuck, and she's like, whatever, do you have money? And he's like, card, you know, using like a card, and he's on like the internet, and there's no like none of this is possible anymore. It's like it takes place in some other world. It's crazy.
Because he would just buy the shit on Amazon now.
Or some,
and
he would just have it delivered.
Yeah.
Like you can't make this movie anymore. Like the world has changed in so many ways.
They are making this movie again. Disney Plus, I think, is making a new Home Alone.
Oh no! A ladder!
You think I'm that stupid?
Yes, I do.
Only on Disney Plus.
It's not what I wanted. I wanted years later, and Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern have now gotten out of prison, and they want fucking revenge. It's Macaulay Culkin now in his 40s, and he's just like, what? Oh God!
Who?
Has to defend himself.
It's like a Simpsons reference where they have like "Die Kevin Die" written on their tattoos and stuff. And yes, he's like whatever he is, 40 something now or something like that, and he's just finally like it shows him taking steps out of the house, like he's like afraid of the world, and he's just gotten through therapy to become like a normal person. Don't worry, they can't hurt you. And then he opens up a newspaper. They've escaped from Arkham Asylum.
No, I don't believe he would ever be in therapy or like remiss.
He's a criminal mastermind.
I think if anything, he's like, oh, it was never the same after he stopped being able to hurt people. Like he loves it, or he's like a slacker who's been coasting his way through all of life through different gadgets.
No. Yes. It's an act. He has been doing that, but really he's trying to lure them in. I'm defenseless. I'm a germophobic, scared person. Meanwhile, I was like sharpening a knife. I wish you would come and get it.
Yeah, they get in a shark like cage drops on the exits as they can't leave.
And then it's like, do you want to play a game? He's just there. He's got them. He's been playing the whole time. Yeah.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch.
And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's alright.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
Why the hell did you take your shoes off?
Why the hell you dressed like a chicken?
Cannibal Video has everything you need. A wide array of VHS and DVDs. We ate the competition, now it's only us. Our expert staff opinions you can really trust. Come and browse our aisles for the movies that you love and know.